Aipad's IDO is just over a week away, and it's now starting to feel like it could be even bigger than even I initially thought. Welcome back to Bearman Crypto, where we talk all things crypto. So, about a few weeks ago, like about a week ago, I did a video specifically on Aipad and this upcoming IDO. We now know the official date for the IDO is happening on the 28th of February, which is just over a week from today. And now we have a bit more detail around the specifics of the IDO, and we can take a quick look at it here. So the expected market cap at token generation event will be $76,000, which is literally nothing. It is absolutely tiny. And at the same time, they're going to announce 3 further IDOs, which will be scheduled specifically to happen on Aipad. And in addition to that, they'll have the first IDO revealed as well within 48 hours of launching. So just covering off the first bit, this market cap of 76k, this is what has made me think that when this goes live, the actual market cap could absolutely explode. I think initially I expected about 1000x. I think that could be even greater, and I'm going to show you in this video exactly why I think that is the case. So whenever you get a chance, make sure you head over to the Aipad Twitter just to have a look for yourself in terms of the specifics. But for those that have been watching, so some of the tokens that I covered in my last video on this specific IDO, they've absolutely pumped. So when we did my original video, BSCPad was sitting at 26 cents. We can see here it's currently sitting at just below 37 cents. Over the weekend, this was pumping, and it pumped quite a lot, and so did all the others. You can see here we had a high. If I just have a look here over the weekend, this is where a lot of these tokens hit their high. So over on Saturday, we had a high of just under 42 cents for BSCPad. Game Zone as well, that was absolutely pumping as well. So the guys have obviously been, there's been a lot of interest now starting to come through on this launch. Game Zone hit a high of 8 cents and is currently sitting at 6.5 cents. MetaPad, we can see here it's down slightly. It's just over 4 cents at the moment, and over the weekend it hit a peak. It was about 5 cents that it peaked at. So a lot of people were buying their tokens over the weekend, ready to stake specifically for this IDO. And one of the things, there's a number of things that you need to be careful. If you've never done these types of IDOs, you have to be so careful because there's so many things happening. Of course, this thing about the IDO, it's not financial advice, of course. I'm just sharing with you what opportunities are in this space. But one of the things that's been happening or known to happen with IDOs is with a lot of these Launchpad tokens, people buy them and then basically dump them just literally as the IDO happens. So it's almost a buy the rumor, sell the news type event. So on the day, there could be people absolutely dumping the Launchpad tokens. So that's just something that you need to very much keep an eye out on. And to help look after some of the, I guess, the retail or investors, and to prevent this from happening, a lot of these Launchpads have basically tried to put mechanisms in place to prevent this dumping occurring. So a lot of, well, basically all the Launchpads that I've looked at specifically have got a staking period whereby there's a penalty for unstaking early, and this encourages people to buy a lot earlier and stake earlier to prevent themselves having to pay this penalty. So obviously, if you're buying now ready for the IDO next week, you will need to have those tokens staked for a minimum of 2 weeks to so that you don't incur a 25% penalty if you unstake early. And the longer you stake your tokens, the smaller the penalty, with a minimum of 8 weeks of staking, so that you don't have to pay the penalty. So that's just something to bear in mind, and something that you have to consider yourself as an investor. Do you want to take the penalty? So if you unstaked early, so for example, if you bought today and staked them today, you'll have to incur a 25% penalty if you try to unstake your tokens on the day of the IDO to sell them. So that's just something that you have to just bear in mind, and a risk that you potentially have to consider if you're thinking about investing in this. So just going back to this initial market cap, so why I think this is going to be, could do even greater than a 1000x as in my previous video. So at the moment here, for Aipad, it's going to have a market cap of 76k at launch. So if we have a look at another one which launched in a similar way, which is MetaPad. So MetaPad had a similar style launch, basically on these platforms: GameZone, BSC Pad, TronPad. And you can see here the price of a MetaPad IDO at the same time was at basically this 0.001 cent. And if we have a look, the amount raised, which is essentially the market cap at the time, was 400k, so considerably bigger than this. So it's about 5 times, it was 5 times bigger than Aipad. So that just gives you a bit of context in terms of how much smaller this specific specific IDO is going to be for Aipad. So that is where my thinking is coming from in terms of how I'm arriving at my figures. And at the time when MetaPad launched, at its all-time high, it did a 482x. So just again, if for example Aipad is going to be 5 times smaller, and if it did the same size in terms of all-time high to get to the same valuation as MetaPad, that is potentially, we're looking at a 2500x. That's my thinking. Again, I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen. That's just how I'm getting a feel for what could potentially happen. But one of the other things that you have to be very much aware of with these specific IDOs, in terms of the allocation, that's one thing that you have to really think about. When this goes live, the allocations could be absolutely tiny. So for your allocation, you might get, for example, $10 of tokens to be able to buy. However, those $10 worth of tokens, if you imagine if that pulls a 2500x, that's like turning $10 into $25,000. But there's another catch. There'll be some sort of a vesting period that you need to consider when buying these tokens. So the vesting period could be over a number of months. So you might start off at a 2500x, but by the time all your tokens are fully unlocked, it might be more like a, I don't know, maybe like a 40x from whatever you invested in. So that's just something to think about. Although we're saying that this will pull a 2500x, by the time you fully get all your tokens vested, it might be more closer to a 40x. But it is still a big gain from your initial investment nonetheless. But that's just something I just wanted to highlight to you guys if you're thinking about buying some of, getting involved in this specific Launchpad. This is something that I think will do absolutely massive in this space, particularly with the hype around AI tokens. I think this is why I think that this could do very well. And I'm now even starting to look at what other potential launch pads could I start to look at if there's going to be more IDOs coming in the future. And one that I just wanted to share with you that I'm now starting to look at is specifically PulsePad. This is not one that's been pumping because obviously there's no news out about it, but I'm just thinking if that goes the same way as all the other launch pads that we've covered, this could do fairly well. And if you look at the style, it's the same approach as all the other launch pads that we've looked at. And this is one of Richard Hart's projects. So don't be surprised if at some point there's another project which is launching on this specific Launchpad, and there's a lot of hype around it, because obviously Richard Hart is well known in this space as well. So that's just something I wanted to share with you as a little bonus extra at the end. Hope you enjoy that video, and if you're getting involved in the AI pad IDO, good luck. Hope you make some amazing gains, and I'll see you in my next video.